takeaways, standouts,
Sure.
the whole shebang. So
Yes. Yes.
I meant to have us kind of go through the undercard at least briefly in our discussion of the main event going in, and have each of us kind of give who was our big focus, like fighter, fight, storyline, whatever. And then I kind of forgot to do it. So I want to ask you if you can think back to when we were recording
Oh.
Friday, who that would have been, and then did you get that what you were looking for out of that person?
So what it would have been was Chris Daukaus's light heavyweight kind of debut here in the UFC. And what I was kind of expecting, how he was going to fill out, what would he look like against Khalil Rountree, who is a great talent on a win streak, but is toward the back half of that top 15. It was a winnable fight, I felt like, for Chris going in. Now here we are, recapping, and boy, I don't know, man. Once the chin's gone, the chin's gone. That's the way I'm viewing it now, because he looked great physically. Like, he really did look like a 205er. Dare I say, he looked like he could even be a middleweight the way he was looking
He
in
still
there.
had a little. He still had a little fluff
Yeah,
on him.
I think he could legitimately go to middleweight if he really tried. But Khalil Rountree is a brick shithouse, an absolute powerhouse at the light heavyweight division, and he always has been. But now with this run he's on, 4 straight wins, 3 of them by knockout. This was just a straight shot right down the middle, and it put Chris Daukaus on his ass,
Yeah.
bounced his head off the canvas and everything. I mean, Khalil Rountree is on a tear right now, thriving right now, the best run that he's been on since being in the UFC, and I love it for the guy. He's had that moment where he shared his mental health struggles and the genuine person that he seems to be and the struggles he has with this fight game. And he's coming into his all right now, man. I love, he said when DC was interviewing him, I want my first UFC main event. You know what, man? You fought for this. You earned this. Give that man his first UFC main event. Give him a top 10 opponent. I love it. It sucks for Chris Daukaus. It's 4 straight losses after he was surging in the UFC when he came in. I don't know what to make of it. He may be gone after this. Maybe they give him one more try. But, what turned into me being excited for seeing what Daukaus can offer at 205 turned in to my appreciation and respect for what Khalil Rountree is continuing to do with his career right now.
Yeah, this Chris Daukaus downfall has been pretty crazy, Dominic. I mean,
Yeah.
let's not forget, we were having genuine debates, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
about who was the better heavyweight prospect between Chris Daukaus and Tom Aspinall.
Yeah.
Now, to your credit, you've always been on Team Tom,
True.
but I don't think many of us could have foreseen this
Mm-mm.
kind of fall from grace, and it's really sad the more you look into it, just because he was a full-time police officer and he quit his job on the police force to focus on fighting,
Yep.
and that was right before this 4-fight skid he's been on. I would love to see him get another shot and turn it around. I saw someone on Twitter mention the idea of him fighting Tanner Bosser next, and
Sure. Yeah.
if you're going to give guys like, no disrespect to these guys, but if a guy like Jamie Pickett can get another fight, or JP Bays on this third
Yeah.
card,
Great point.
Daukaus, I think, has done enough early on to
Yes.
warrant another shot.
Yes.
The problem with him is it just appears that with heavy hitters, I mean, he's been given a tough 4-fight run there.
It has.
Now, you could look at it like, well, he sort of was. I mean, he beat like Shamil Abdurrahimov to kind of in a highlight reel fashion, so that kind of got him the
Yeah.
Blades fight, and then, the Lewis fight. And then when he lost that, they gave him Blades because they needed a main event in Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes to Rosenstruck. These are all heavy, heavy hitters. And then Khalil
Yes.
Rountree is, I mean, you saw that ground and pound, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that was violent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough run of heavy hitters. And I would just like to see him utilize his wrestling more, Dominic. His wrestling is what got him to the UFC.
Him and his brother both are great jiu-jitsu artists. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was I forget what his credentials are, but I'm pretty sure he was a pretty high level, either collegiate wrestler or amateur or whatever. And he's just like a lot of wrestlers do. He's fallen in love with the striking, and I think now that you're seeing it's not really working for him, you would like to see him adapt.
Yeah.
Because he has the ability to do so. He's very high level. It's not like we're trying to make Israel Adesanya become a wrestler or Alex
Yeah.
Pereira become a wrestler. We're talking about a guy who that was his background. So yes, that probably would have been mine as well. But I had a feeling you were going to take it from me because you were always on the same wavelength, here,
Yes,
Dom.
we are.
So I would have gave two kind of what would you call it? Two alternative options here, and it was basically two fighters who at times we have been both pretty excited about, but they were backs against the wall. Are they coming or are they going? Like kind of thing here. And that was Terrance McKinney and,
Sure.
and Juliana Miller. Terrance McKinney, I mean, I expected it. Terrance McKinney in round one is an absolute cheat code.
By knockout, some would say, even right now.
Right. But Dominic, to bet Terrance McKinney in round one was like minus 250.
That's insane.
That's insane.
That's insane.
That is insane. I've never seen that, but it makes sense. This
Yeah.
man is an absolute terror in round one.
Yeah.
And I know everybody likes to throw out, well, you get him out of round one, all of a sudden he ain't the same guy. And there's probably some truth to that. But I also just am such a believer. Like what I see when he gets in there in round one is usually so many
He has
flashes
talent, man.
of like real talent. And I'm talking
Yes.
like high
Yes.
level
Yes.
stuff.
Yes.
If he could just find a, as he's learning, as he's continuing to grow, I mean, he's still very young.
Sure.
If he could just smarten up some of these things, tune up some of these little holes in his game, and make himself just a more well-rounded and just smarter fighter,
Yep.
he's going to be a real problem
I really
for
agree.
people. And I mean, I'm talking top 10.
Yeah.
Like, I really believe his ceiling is in that area.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believed it for a while. Obviously, it wasn't looking good there for a couple fight stretch. I know this was Mike Breeden, who was like 0-2 in the UFC coming in. So, yes, like, should he have been able to beat this guy? Obviously. But he took the fight like 2 weeks after he just fought.
He literally just fought. Yeah.
Like, obviously, Mike Breeden was outmatched here. But I'm just saying, it's good to see him get back into win column. He said he needed to get that taste out of his mouth from the Sadikov loss. I know some people will. I've seen a little bit of controversy thrown around about that fight. Like in hindsight, people talk about Sadikov like grabbing the fence that kind of set up his
yeah.
ultimate submission win. But I don't know. I can't speak on that. But I thought he passed in flying colors.
Yes.
However, Juliana Miller,
Jinkies.
this was rough.
Back to back, rough. Real rough.
Back to back, real rough. I
Yeah.
mean, boy, that Nunes Pena season of The Ultimate Fighter is looking very funny in the light right now.
Yeah.
Was it just no? They had a men's division on there too, didn't they?
I believe
Yeah,
so.
they had the heavyweights, right?
Yeah.
That was
Usman, right?
Usman. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I was like, thought I was going crazy, but yeah. As far as the women's, I don't know if it was the flyweight division or whatever division that was on Tough, they are looking pretty funny in the light right now because Juliana Miller was a very inexperienced fighter going into that house, and like everybody kind of knew that about her. But she looked very good, making her like absolute dog. She was being called Chick Diaz and stuff. Like had that dog in her. She looked great in the Tough finale against Brogan Walker.
Mm-hmm.
And Dominic, it's been really bad ever since. I mean, and it's she's getting exposed like bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Her inexperience is showing through big time. Yeah, she's got a lot of heart, but she doesn't have a lot of skills, it seems like. She doesn't have a lot of setups. She's pure heart and aggression, but doesn't have a whole lot to back it up, not a whole lot to set it up. So when she's going up against someone, like a Luana Santos, who was the Hardy?
It was Veronica Hardy.
Veronica Hardy. I wanted to say Heather Hardy. That's who boxed Amanda Serrano last week. But Veronica Hardy, Veronica Hardy had struggled in the UFC, but someone who's very smart, been around a while.
Yeah.
She's just been exposed big time. I don't know if I foresee her recovering from this. I think taking some time outside the UFC might do her some good, but I have a feeling they're gonna continue.
She'll probably do one more at least.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if the Tough finale counts as the first fight of their Usually it's like a
Mhm.
4-fight deal or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that counts. Probably not because you wouldn't a contract through the shows. So she'd have like 2 fights left. I don't know if she'll make it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I would agree. We've seen just very poor decision making, not a lot of good skill sets shown. I don't know I mean, maybe it's just that win on Brogan Walker in hindsight isn't as good as it looked on the paper when it happened. There could be a lot of factors here, but she is tough. She has that grit, but there's a lot to be put together. I feel like if she really wants to live up to being the Ultimate Fighter winner, that's for sure. Noah, am I allowed to just bring up one more name for us?
Oh, I was going to continue on this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we got plenty because this really wasn't the storyline of the card. It was just what we were
What we would have, and yeah.
what going in we were most like interested in. But I mean, the
Mhm.
finishes on this card were wild. Like
Yes.
we tied a
Plenty.
record, Dominic. 7 first
Yep.
round finishes. Not sure who's more responsible for jinxing it between yourself and Alan Joban.
It's all Joban, the beautiful
Yeah,
Alan
I
Joban.
will. I saw that. I was like, okay, Dominic should be thanking his
Yeah.
lucky stars right now because
Mhm.
that was a much heavier jinx. Did you sort of recognize that before I tweeted it out at you?
Yeah, I just am in a rough spot right now with some of the tweets that go out. I'll just put it that way.
Look, pardon me if I'm not the first one to pick up on it due to my past with your
Yeah,
jinxes, but
sure.
no, go ahead, Dominic. What did you want to talk about? This is about
Dude,
you.
I was chopping at the bit to get on here and talk about Marcus McGhee. This
Yeah.
man, I love it. I love it. And say what you want about him. 33. He took on Journey Newson. He took on JP Buys. I get it. They're not the greatest competition at bantamweight, whatever. But this man is fun. He is electric. He is a complete, well-rounded fighter and a very intelligent, well-spoken. Everything about Marcus McGhee, I'm here for it all. I want this man to go all the way to the top. Noah, I love it. I love this guy. I'm excited to see him step back in the cage again. Through 2 UFC fights, he has looked damn near flawless so far. And I get it, right? I already said about the competition, but still, to look this clean, to look this good, he does it by submission, set up by his hands against Journey. Last night, one punch, Dunzo. He wanted to go in for one more shot on JP. He said, nah, I'll hold that off for my next opponent. I am here for this run that Marcus McGhee is having right now, 8-1. All of his fights have ended inside the distance. All of his finishes or all of his wins are finishes. I think he is just something to hold on to right now, to grasp onto on the outside looking in at bantamweight, which is one of the most stacked, most fun, diverse divisions in all of mixed martial arts right now. Marcus McGhee adding to the list, baby. I love it.
Wow. Okay. So you're like really high on this
Oh
guy. You
yeah,
think
I love
like
this guy.
you want to see how far he can take this, and
Yes. Yes.
I thought the debut win was more impressive. I mean, the JP Bays is just, he's more of a
Sure.
coach now. He's been very chitty in the past.
Mhm.
Still, the fact that he got him out of there in the first round was definitely impressive. But Journey Newsom, I thought was actually I thought he's a pretty good fighter. And if I remember right, Journey was a huge favorite. Like McGhee took
Yeah,
that on
Marcus
very
was
short
a short
notice.
notice underdog. Yeah.
Like I thought it was like a huge number where you're
Yeah.
kind of like, wait a minute, Journey Newsom's that big of a favorite? I
Sure.
could be wrong, but I thought it was pretty big. Yeah, no, I he got a performance bonus for that too. So, I'll just mention the guy who got screwed out of a performance bonus, Dom. Isaac Dolgarian. Making his
Oh man,
debut
he didn't get
here.
one.
He went up against Francis Marshall. He asked for a bonus after the win, which I wish these fighters would learn that it seems more often than not when you ask,
You
you
shall
do not
receive.
you do not
Oh,
receive.
do not receive.
Yeah, and he even said after at his post-fight presser when he was being interviewed, he said his family lives in a camper right outside of the
Yeah.
gym,
Mm.
and he was like hoping to get that bonus money to get him out of there. I hope they take care of him because honestly, like, how did he not get a bonus here?
I feel like all these finishes could have gotten
That's what I'm
bonuses
saying.
last
Like,
night.
obviously the ones who did Khalil Rountree, Yasmin Lucindo, Marcus McGhee, Damon Blackshear.
Okay,
I'm
those
not
are
advocating for any of those 4 to not get it. Because I mean, there was no fight of the night bonus given out.
sure. Yeah.
So I just felt like, maybe just help the guy out. Maybe they will. I hope they will. Because Dominic, I don't know if you've heard about this guy's story, but I believe he is the fighter who do you remember when Dana and the Nelk boys did? I don't know if that was looking for a fight.
He
where
was
they
on looking for a fight. Yes.
yeah,
Yep.
that was looking for a fight where the Nelk boys gave him like a sponsorship deal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you heard what's happened with that,
I'm assuming it's
but
not good.
it basically after he was awarded it, all of a sudden it wasn't just a sponsorship deal anymore. It was also to be like to manage his career.
Mm-hmm.
And he already had a manager. So he
Okay.
basically was like, this was supposed to be a sponsorship. It was advertised as a sponsorship the whole
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically it ended up falling out.
Oh man. Okay.
So the Nelk boys for doing that, like they should have. How about we full send their ass on out of here? How about that? Huh? No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. But like, I'd like to see him really succeed to kind of rub it in
Mm-hmm.
those guys' faces. You know,
That'd be
he's
awesome.
had a
Yeah.
he's had a tough start with that. Doesn't get the bonus here. Hopefully, he can use it as some positive or some motivation, some fuel. Because I thought he looked good here. I thought Francis Marshall's a pretty good fighter, and he
Yeah.
took him out. So didn't expect that. Didn't expect it to happen so quick. I thought he looked great, and I guess throughout the rest of this card, shout out AJ Dobson,
Ohio stand
Ohio's
up.
own.
Sure.
Yep.
Yep.
Got a big win and just a unanimous decision win. What did you think about the co-main, Dominic? The Cub Swanson getting that unanimous decision win over Hakeem Dawodu.
Yeah, so this is funny actually. So I'm outside. I was watching the last two fights outside on the TV, and the fight ended, and I was getting the tweets prepped to tweet out,
Yeah.
and I had it all typed out. Noah hits his bet. Hakeem wins. Like I had it typed up, ready to send out. And my dad, I was kind of just ready to send, so I wasn't looking at the screen. And my dad goes, "Oh man, Cub won that." I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" I looked up. If Cub had won the fight, I was absolutely. That was one of the most flabbergasted I've been at a fight decision.
Dare you say?
I,
Are you gonna say the R word?
am I going to hold off just because I have to love and appreciate Cub Swanson? Is that fair?
See,
That's probably
it's tough, but
unfair.
Dominic, you gotta remove your
I saw,
investment in these two
I
guys.
saw someone say the judges saw them three little kids on the side of the cage, and they said, "Yep, Cub won that fight."
Oh, I saw someone say they were the three judges for the fight.
Three judges. Listen, man, I think Hakeem won this fight.
Say it. Say it.
This is probably, this is a robbery, I'd say.
Woo!
Yeah.
There it is. There
Yeah.
it is. There it is.
It's for round one was close, I guess, and round three was scrappy, but I was just shocked that Hakeem didn't win this. So I feel for him, but Cub Swanson gets a win. Like, I don't know. It's a tough one. This is a tough one when you see a guy like
Yeah.
Cub. He literally admitted like that he
Yeah.
didn't win the fight. He was congratulating Hakeem on winning the fight. So this is a weird one.
So let me say that I think you're wrong about this being a robbery.
You just wanted to talk me into saying it so you could say that.
Well, I mean, I wanted you to speak your mind. I didn't want you to hold back because I feel differently. But yes, I wanted to trap you, and then I'm gonna flame your ass right here. No, I'm just kidding. But basically, Dominic, I'm gonna take the mindset of Aaron Bronstetter tweeted this out during the fights, and I kind of feel like this is a good way for me to gauge like a 3-round fight. First off, I thought Hakeem won.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit that. I scored it for him. I thought he did enough. So when they said it was unanimous, I thought for sure he was getting his hand raised.
Same.
If it had been split, then I wouldn't have been as surprised. But I don't know why that is, but it's just like usually when you have a fight like this that's very controversial, it feels like the split decision is
not all the judges are going to be the same. Yeah.
And what's funny, they weren't all in agreement on which round. One of the
one was different.
Gave Cub the second round, which is like, what are we doing here, Bubba? But I look at it like in a 3-round fight, if at least 2 of the rounds I say are like close, then I will not call it a robbery. That's like my new standard going forward.
That's probably the greatest viewpoint to have. Yeah.
And Aaron tweeted that out. Shout out to him. I know Dominic, big fan.
I fucking love this guy.
Even though he didn't take his advice there, but so who's the real fan?
And now I know the tweet exists.
Yeah. So to me, I don't know how that applies to a 5-round fight. Maybe it's if 3 of the 5 rounds are very close. Yeah, maybe.
Because that'd be half of them. That's what you need to win. Yeah.
Well, it'd be over half.
You get the point. You need 3 to win.
Yeah.
You need 2 to win in a 3-round, 3 to win in a 5-round.
So yeah, so I overall will not call it a robbery, but I did score for Hakeem. I mean, I gotta mention my heist of the century that I pulled off here, because I'll never get this lucky again. Never, ever, ever. The betting side, like luck, is not a thing. That's not a factor. It doesn't happen. I'd put in an 8-leg parlay. This was off. I didn't post this
Just
bet.
for funsies, right?
Yeah, just for funsies. I had a 8-leg parlay, all money line. I had Roundtree. That was like the 7th leg. He hits. I was nervous about that one going in. So that hits. Well, Dominic, it was a $50 bet to win 700. So then after the 7th leg hits, my cash out option is about 502. And all I have left is Hakeem Dawodu. So I know I'm going to do something. But cash out's not the first thing that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to mind is the hedge, right?
Sure.
Take a couple. Well, maybe I'm not good at hedging, but you said what you said, and then what a couple other buddies said were like both in agreement on what I should have done. It was like put like, what'd you say, 25 on
to get your money back and then some.
Yeah, but I was thinking like I'm willing to lose a little bit off that big amount as long as I can make a very big profit either way. So I was thinking like hedging with like 150 to 200 on Cub. And then I started doing the math. And then one of the guys that I'm friends with from college, shout out to Lonnie, he says, why don't you cash out and then take 50 of that and put it on Cub? I don't know why, but that was like, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
So I cashed out at 502, put 50 on Cub Swanson to win 175. So I nearly made what I would have made if I had just let that parlay ride out, even though, of course, Hakeem ended up losing it. Dominic, let me just say, if I had not done anything and Hakeem had lost that decision, we'd probably be having a much different discussion. You would not hear me come on here. I'll fully admit. I would not come on here and go, oh, you know, my mentality is if 2 of the 3 rounds are close, then I would have came on here and been like, robbery
of the century.
I'd be wearing a Canadian flag. Like I would be Hakeem got screwed.
Yeah.
And you know what I find? I shouldn't be like this, but Hakeem, this is another fight where he keeps it way too close. He just
I saw people saying he has like no finishing prowess.
He's never got one in the UFC. He is a decision heavy fighter, which it's not. You can be great and be that, but he lost his last time out to Julian Erosa. That was like a split decision. He's been to a ton of split decisions. So I know this was unanimous, but for a guy who is not willing to really put himself at risk like Cub was, like, don't get me wrong, he was tagging him up and it looked good. I find it hard. Like, I see where your struggle is, where it's like Cub is such a likable guy. And I'm not saying Hakeem isn't, but when these have been the things that everybody's been telling him for years.
And no changes have really been made.
No changes. It's hard to really sympathize when it's like, like obviously I felt like he won, but it's also like, dude, this happens every week. Like, and for you to have a style that sort of keeps everything close and safe. It's, this is what happens. So again, I implore him to hopefully
he's a talented guy.
He is.
I mean,
it's one thing for me to talk like this is maybe a little out of my wheelhouse, but I'm just saying, would like to see him add a wrinkle of aggression in here. Like add some sort. Be willing to put yourself at risk, because I think he's talented enough where more often than not he'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree. I do.